This is a recent interview, a rare interview with Superintendent of Indiana State Police Doug Carter, speaking about the recent arrest of Richard Allen, Kegan Kline, and the case in general. Take a listen to what he has to say in this interview, and please leave a comment letting us know what you think. We all want to know what you think. Also, please hit that like and subscribe button to support the channel, and thanks for watching.
The guy in custody, Richard Allen, is he the only person being looked at in this investigation?
Right now, he's the one that's been that's now facing murder charges. So, again, we are not going to stop looking at other people until this is completely done and we have nothing left to do.
Okay, so here we listen to Doug Carter talking, and we hear him fumbling over himself a little bit. Usually I think Doug Carter is very well spoken. He says what he means, and he means what he says. And when he's asked about Richard Allen, he says he's the only one who's currently been arrested, and they're not going to stop until, they have everyone involved, is essentially what I think he's saying here. As you'll hear in the rest of this interview, I think it's clear, in my opinion, that Doug Carter is implying that there is more work to do, and there are more people out there who will be charged and arrested related to the Delphi murders.
One of the things that I've heard is, why not release the cause of death? Not because people are morbidly curious, but if they knew they were looking for somebody that was either a stab or a gunshot, maybe they know somebody that sold the gun, sold the knife. Maybe they could find the weapon somewhere. What's the rationale for not releasing the official cause of death?
Because the individual or individuals that did it, only they know what they did.
Okay, so this is no big surprise here. All along, the investigators have held information about the Delphi murders very close to the vest. So why is it that they won't release information about the weapons used? Could it be that whatever weapon was used, perhaps a knife, was some kind of a unique, special knife that is not very common? But if that's so, doesn't the reporter Hammer have a point here? Wouldn't you want to get that out there so people could give you more clues, saying, oh yeah, I know this person who has that kind of weapon. It's very unique. There aren't a lot around. And that would help them to hone in on potential suspects. This has always been very confusing to me.
And I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. Has that slowed down the investigation? Because I think the public, with all of their tips, has been a big help in this. Wouldn't it make sense to have the public looking for the possible weapon?
I don't think at this point it would. Functionally, I understand the question, Hammer. I really do understand it. And we're going to look back on this and probably realize, dang it, I wish we'd have done A, B, and C rather than B and E.
Well, like you, I would really like to know what it is that Doug Carter is talking about here. I mean, there have been a lot of questions surrounding the length of time it took investigators to make an arrest in the Delphi murder case, well over 5 years, close to 6 years, when the suspect was a community member, a resident of Delphi, which is a town of under 3,000 people, when Richard Allen lived adjacent to one of the victim's yards. I mean, this to me is just really unbelievable. With so many different agencies involved, with the FBI involved, we wonder, how could this be?
We can't talk about what we think. I've said this many times before. You should expect us to only talk about what we know. And that even changes more so once there's a probable cause affidavit signed by a judge for the arrest of an individual. Not just Richard Allen, but in any criminal case, especially a complex criminal case. This case is unlike any that I've seen in almost a 40-year career. So there are so many different tentacles to this. It's very complex.
So it's this statement from Doug Carter that I really was absolutely wowed by. I think that Doug Carter uses a very intentional choice of words. I think, again, like I said before, he says what he means and he means what he says. So, in saying there's a lot of tentacles to this case, so what do you think about when you think about tentacles? Tentacles of an octopus, there's 8 legs. That's a lot of different, when you use the analogy of tentacles to a case, that's a lot of different components to a case. He says that it's a very complex case, perhaps the most complex that he's seen in his career of 40 years? Well, I think that tells us with beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is more to come in this Delphi murder case. If the story were to end here with the arrest of Richard Allen, I don't think that Doug Carter would be using this very intentional language, the analogy of tentacles, and saying it's the most complex case that he's seen in his 40 years of service.
The other name that's involved in this whole story is Kegan Kline. Now, he has not been charged with anything in regards to the murders of these beautiful young ladies in Delphi. We know that he had some sort of communication with one of the ladies the day before they passed away. Has he been speaking to police? Has he been given some sort of plea deal to help police?
We'll continue to work on Kegan Kline.
So once again, I believe Doug Carter is using very intentional language here, maybe not very intentional language, but I think the term "we will continue to work on Kegan Kline" is very telling. I think the word "continue" implies that Kegan Kline has already given them something of value. And when he says we're going to continue to work on Kegan Kline, to me, that is telling us that they are looking to extract more information from Kegan Kline, who has been in prison since 2020. And gosh, I think there's a lot to come that we are going to be, in some ways, absolutely shocked by. What do you guys think? Please leave a comment below letting us know what you think about Doug Carter's statement. We all want to know what you think. Thanks for watching, guys.